Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Trees. I'm your host, Peyton, and tonight I would like to talk to you all about the legend of Boggy Creek. As many of you know, America is filled with lots of ancient history that spreads back thousands of years. Even though we have been told most of our lives that it hasn't, anyone who has spent time in the Grand Canyon or looked over into the ocean or into more of our forest areas can tell that the forest has been here for a very, very long time. Like with many other ancient places, there have always been stories and different legends that come along with it. And the legends of the 8 to 12 foot tall bipedal humanoid is no exception. Let's get started. Our story begins in the little town of Fouke, Arkansas, which lies just southwest of Little Rock and just east of Texarkana. The legends of Boggy Creek stretch back over 60 years, and honestly, that's a long time. The account is filled with physical descriptions, eyewitness accounts, and even police investigations that some went unsolved and undiscovered. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. The legend of Boggy Creek revolves around the mysterious creatures known as the Fouke monster, a cryptid said to lurk in the swamps and wooded areas around Fouke, Arkansas. This legend gained national attention in the early 1970s and remains one of the most famous cryptid stories in the United States. The origins of the legend. The first widely publicized sighting of the Fouke monster occurred in May of 1971, when Bobby and Elizabeth Ford reported being attacked by a large hairy humanoid creature in their home on the outskirts of Fouke. Fords claimed the creature attempted to break into their house and even reached through the window. Bobby Ford was reportedly so frightened that he ran through a glass door in an attempt to escape. Scratches and damages to their home were documented, and the police found large three-toed footprints in that area. However, this wasn't the first time locals had encountered something strange. Tales of hairy Bigfoot like creatures had been circulating in the Fouke region since at least the 1940s. Many described it as a large bipedal ape-like being covered in dark fur with glowing red eyes or orange and a foul odor. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but for someone to be so scared that they literally run through an inch and a half to 2 inches of just pure glass, they must have been terrified. Now, I've heard of these creatures and their eyes being able to glow. A lot of people think that it is eye shine from when, you shine a flashlight on it, but there are other accounts of people who will be out in the woods and they will literally see it and there are no lights on them at all. There's no moon out. So I'm not quite sure what to make of that. The story then goes on to say, the 1971 incident and the police investigation. After the Ford family reported their terrifying encounter, law enforcement investigated the area. They discovered strange tracks and clawed scratch marks on the Ford's porch. Several local hunters attempted to track the creature but were unsuccessful. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, aha, see, that's why they're not real, because no one can ever capture them. They're elusive. They never are around. They're just fantasy. But to be honest with you, I mean, the Native American people talk about them being able to walk through portals. They are not only physical, but they're also spiritual, so they're interdimensional. Um, Personally, I believe that they're more interdimensional, and I think that they're more of a spiritual thing, but just because something is spiritual doesn't mean that it cannot also be physical at the same time. Many of us remember the stories of the Bible with the angels that sat and ate bread, and also the one that broke, I believe it was Jacob's hip. The town of Fouke quickly became the center of media attention, and in response, Charles B. Pierce directed the 1972 film The Legend of Boggy Creek. The film, a low-budget docudrama, dramatized various local encounters with the Fouke monster and became a cult classic, cementing the creature's place in cryptid folklore. Eyewitness accounts and reported encounters. In the 1940s through 1950s, early sightings before the 1970s publicity, some locals recalled hearing strange screams, seeing large hairy figures in the woods. Hunters and fishermen in the Boggy Creek area reported finding large three-toed footprints in the mud. The Ford family encounter in 1971 is probably one of the most famous incidents in which Bobby and Elizabeth Ford said the creature attacked their home. The Ford brothers fired their guns at it, but the creature seemed unaffected and fled into the woods. They found huge footprints and damage to their house, including scratch marks on the walls. In 1973, a truck driver claimed he saw a large dark figure dart across the road near Boggy Creek late at night. He tried to follow it in his truck, but it quickly disappeared into the dense forest. In the 1980s, two hunters deep in the woods near Fouke reported being stalked by a huge bipedal creature. They described hearing heavy breathing and footfalls behind them, but whenever they shined their lights, nothing was visible. And then, in 1981, Teenagers' Close Call, a group of teenagers camping near Boggy Creek saw a tall, hairy figure watching them from the trees. The creature let out a deep growl, causing the group to flee in terror. Modern reports. Some local residents claim they still hear strange guttural howls at night. A few people have reported sighting a tall, dark figure lurking near the creek, but no clear photos or videos exist. I just want to put this out there real quick because I hear skeptics talk about this all the time. If we have cell phones, why don't we have any proof? Why don't we have any photos of them? Let me just put this out there real quick. If you have a 8 to 12 foot tall, 300-pound giant ape man, I don't really think that pulling out your phone to take a snapshot is really the first thing on your mind. Could just be me, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't do that. It goes into explanations and theories. There are several theories about what the Fouke monster might be. A surviving southern Bigfoot. Some cryptozoologists believe it could be a southern variant of Bigfoot, a rare primate-like creature adapted to the swamps and forests, or a misidentified bear, which I'm not really sure how you can misidentify a bear from a Bigfoot. We've seen bears all our life, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us know what a bear looks like. But again, that's just my humble opinion. Others say a hoax or mass hysteria. Some believe the sightings were exaggerated or fabricated, especially after the Legend of Boggy Creek movie popularized the creature. However, sightings continued before and after the film's release. The legacy and cultural impact. The Legend of Boggy Creek of 1972 became a huge success, influencing later films like The Blair Witch Project. Fouke, Arkansas now embraces the legend, hosting cryptid-themed events and museum exhibits. The Fouke monster is one of the most well-documented Bigfoot creatures in the U.S. South. While no definitive proof exists, eyewitness reports, tracks, and eerie encounters keep the legend alive. The deep and misty swamps of Boggy Creek continue to hold their secrets, and many still venture there, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious Fouke monster. All right, that's it for this episode, everybody. Remember, if you've had an encounter of any kind and you would like your story told, shoot me an email. My email address is beyondthetrees95@gmail.com. Have a good night, everybody.